Well, joining us now on the news grid from London is Alex Magaisa, a lawyer and advisor to the former Zimbabwean Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai. Thank you so much for being with us. I just want to, ask you first about your reaction to today's events. I mean, a big day, I think, in Zimbabwean politics. How do you feel about this?
Well, it's an absolutely important day in the sense that Mr. Mugabe has been in charge of Zanu-PF for or more than 40 years as leader, and it has all come crashing down in this dramatic fashion. What is fascinating, of course, is that Mugabe was catapulted to leadership by the guerrillas who were part of Zanu-PF, right. And now he's been dethroned again by the military, which has instigated this action.
It is quite fascinating, isn't it? All elements of Zanu-PF today seem to be in agreement that Mugabe had to go as party leader, all 10 regional parties. He lost the support of the army, the War Veterans Association, the Women's League. But it was also these same different groups that only a few months ago was praising Mugabe, saying that he would be their man in the next election next year. You know, what happened? What's changed?
Well, absolutely. It just confirms that what Mugabe believed to be popular support was only a facade that was created by people in his party. Mr. Mugabe, everybody else outside ZANU-PF was warning them that it's untenable to have a 93-year-old or a 94-year-old in 2018 as a candidate, but all these people were supporting him for their own interests. It also shows you the selfishness of politicians, that they will go where the wind blows. Last week, they were supporting Mr. Mugabe and firing Mr. Mnangagwa. This week, they are opposing Mr. Mugabe and supporting Mr. Mnangagwa.
Alex Magaisa, I want to take a moment now to take a look at what could be next for Zimbabwe as far as the leadership. Some of the major political players in Zimbabwe now. Emmerson Mnangagwa, that we've mentioned, is a new party leader for ZANU-PF, who was sacked this month as vice president. The first female vice president in Zimbabwe is history. Joice Mujuru was removed from her post in 2014. Some say at the behest of First Lady Grace Mugabe. Christopher Mutsvangwa, the leader of Zimbabwe's War Veterans Association, which has been instrumental in rallying opposition demonstrations, and then also Morgan Tsvangirai, Zimbabwe's former prime minister, who founded the opposition party, the Movement for Democratic Change, MDC. Alex, you know, Mugabe stepping down from power isn't necessarily going to mean a new day for Zimbabwe, is it? When you look at all these different figures, all these people, they've been on the scene for some time now. Emmerson Mnangagwa was Mugabe's sidekick for a long time. How is he going to present himself as a new man to Zimbabweans?
I think it's important that we are very clear about what is going on here. This was an internal party fight. It was a succession struggle between the different actors in ZANU-PF. On the one hand, Mr. Mnangagwa, the former vice president, and on the other hand, Grace Mugabe, Mr. Mugabe's wife. It was a question of who was going to succeed. One faction has succeeded.
Right.
The other players on the political scene, Mrs. Mujuru, Mr. Tsvangirai, they are actors on the political scene, but this is a ZANU-PF issue, and Mr. Mnangagwa is the one who is in the ascendancy.
Do you think there'll be elections next year in April? Can they be free and fair elections in Zimbabwe?
It was always very doubtful whether there would be free and fair elections next year, given that the electoral landscape had not been changed significantly. The removal of Mr. Mugabe would be an important part of changing that landscape. But we must understand that Mr. Mugabe was part of a system. That system hasn't changed. The new actors who are coming in were part of the system that propped up Mr. Mugabe. The only question is, have they got the leadership to change the mindset, to change the way in which they approach elections and democracy? Are they born-again Democrats, or is it going to be the same? So next year's elections, this is something that all the actors on the political scene are going to have to sit down and talk about very carefully to make sure that the ground is free and fair and that it guarantees a credible election.
It'll certainly be interesting to see how the events develop in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Alex Magaisa, Zimbabwean lawyer, joining us on the news grid from London. Let's bring in our social media.